Good morning. My name is Laurel Colgate. My journey began when my son turned 3 and his developmental benchmarks were not being obtained. After extensive testing, he was diagnosed with a child with autism, sensory integration difficulties, and echolalia, resulting in the inability to have direct interactive communication. My path towards the world of special education began. In 2009, I completed a master's in reading from USF, during which I had to renew my teaching certificate and found myself substitute teaching predominantly in the special education classrooms. For the past 10 years, I have taught and worked for the school district as a self contained resource and inclusion teacher in intermediate elementary classrooms. I continued going back to school and obtained an endorsement in both autism and intellectual disabilities at USF. One of the therapies implemented during the journey to help my son was therapeutic listening. He listened to specifically designed CDs with classical music and additional noises to me that sounded like someone scratching on a chalkboard with their nails. This was to develop new neuron pathways in the brain. It definitely worked. He began talking and processing language. I used the program for several years, and even later, if he got sick, it helped with regression experienced. I knew then that the brain was malleable. 3 years ago, I attended the IDA conference in Orlando. I was very impressed with all the research on brain imaging and what was being learned. At that point, there was not a graduate program available. When I discovered the program at University of Florida had been developed, I enrolled. As I have progressed and completed the first 2 courses of the program, my depth of knowledge has increased significantly concerning the components necessary to produce sound, both orally and in verbal and written format, and the hierarchy required to process language. Learning to read and write is an exceptionally complicated process utilizing many different compartments of the brain that starting with early language to the end resulting the result of reading and writing comprehension successfully. The third class has provided many new avenues to diagnose and pinpoint different deficits in the reading and writing process so that to develop effective, explicit, intensive remediation to help those students develop new neuron pathways. I previously paid attention to the psychological testing performed while determining eligibility to help with establishing accommodations and goals to help students with grade level curriculum and remediation. I have currently tested all my students that I am responsible for full instruction in reading and math with the core assessing reading multiple measures complete battery of assessments. I now have a baseline to use to drive instruction on a more effective and efficient basis with my 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. I am looking forward to learning the U-Fly method of remediation so I can work with my students that have shown deficits in phonological processing, fluency, and comprehension. This year, I have completely changed my 90-minute reading block to include Uri's phases of word recognition. I have attempted to implement a systematic approach to sound, symbol correspondence, phonetically regular and irregular high-frequency words, orthotic spelling, sequences, and morphology patterns. As I continue to learn, I have found attempting to piece different programs together to meet the needs of my students has been challenging. I look forward to further guidance and instruction of different methodologies to remediate deficits that I have discovered in the administration of the assessments. Administration feels that phonics and fluency are for lower grade levels, so I have had to rename my instruction. I have been adding components to my reading program as I continue in the course study and seeing significant improvements in my students. My experience with multisensory instruction has been my creative pursuit to present lessons with different modalities to help students understand the content of the lesson. I have used Words Your Way for many years to build sound patterns with words and letters. Manipulatives are an everyday component of my instruction in the room. What I have failed to do is to provide instruction on an intensive and repetitive basis sequentially building the skills at the intensity level necessary. I also do not have an adequate procedure to track the results. The first video demonstrating the U-Fly method was exciting. I look forward to learning the process and attending the month-long practicum at UF to refine my skills. When I started the certification for dyslexic program, my four most important goals at the onset of the program were: number one, to acquire a comprehensive understanding of the complex components of reading, because I believe that using a scientifically based reading intervention can show a significant and durable change in the brain's organization so that the brain activation patterns resemble those of typical readers. Number two, to understand and become proficient in the delivery of multisensory structured language education programs that provide instruction in a systematic, cumulative, and explicit and sequential approach to incorporate all the components of reading necessary: the phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, comprehension at the levels required for each student. To incorporate the knowledge to provide and demonstrate a significant difference in the reading ability levels of my students this year by providing effective, evidence-based, comprehensive reading intervention programs that provide listening, speaking, reading, and writing using explicit, systematic, cumulative, and multisensory methods. And then four, to apply and be accepted to a program with a sponsoring professor to write and finish a doctorate degree in special education focusing on teaching to the brain and reading. My first three goals are systematically and comprehensively being addressed successfully. I feel I have a better handle on the processes involved in reading and the diagnostic components to start a successful remediation program for my students. My fourth goal is now going to take a back burner. I am frustrated that the school system is more focused on having the students on iReady and the preparation of students for the FSA testing. I am in the process of permitting and remodeling a building so that in January 2020, I will open a tutoring center to work with students with reading and communication disabilities. So my revised fourth goal is to establish a tutoring center that will address the reading, writing, and math deficits of students exhibiting dyslexic traits and students struggling, needing explicit, direct, and systematic instruction in reading, writing, with the strategies and background knowledge acquired through this certification program. I also plan on sitting for the IDA certification exam and being certified through the IDA. I look forward to continuing on this journey during this course and the practicum. Thank you very much, and look forward to the course.